The ever-changing landscape of college football, topic covered by sportscasters all over the country of all different levels for the past few years, with the emergence of name, image, and likeness rule changes, the expansion of the transfer portal and transfer rules, and the realignment of conferences based on TV deals and playoff chances. While greatly covered, it's usually done so on a grand scale and a hindsight view of college football as a whole. Across the country, little are these changing rules and shifting circumstances looked at through the lens of a single program. That is what we're here to talk about today. Of course, what better way to start than to peer through the eyes of the country's most traditional college football program, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Joining me today is Ryan Murray, a senior studying marketing at Notre Dame, who also holds the coveted role of student manager on the football team. Ryan, I appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy, so thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is a really cool opportunity. So thanks.
All right, so student manager of the football team. As I mentioned, a coveted role by students here at Notre Dame. Could you give us a super quick rundown of the process of getting that position, what you actually do, and then maybe, if you could, a little inside scoop about how much knowledge you get from this position?
Yeah. So I'm currently a senior at Notre Dame, and so I'm a senior student equipment manager for the football team, and it's a role that really encompasses a lot of the preparation with the team for getting ready for games, and then also being there on the sideline and in the locker room during game days. And so you start out as a sophomore student and you get the chance to try out to be a manager in the spring semester of your freshman year. And it really is just making sure that you're a good fit with being alert and attentive during practices. You get to shadow current managers during spring practices. And then you're selected from a really competitive pool of prospective managers. And then your sophomore year, you're assigned to a position group that you usually stick with for the duration of your time as a manager. So my position group that I work with specifically is the special teams and the specialists. So I'm really involved during practices when the team goes out there and they practice field goals and punts and whatnot, just making sure that all the equipment that they have is there to execute drills and practices. And then during games, I have special game time responsibilities. So as a senior, my elevated responsibility this year is locker room and inventory. And so during games, I'm kind of back in the locker room working behind the scenes to make sure that everything is set up for the players from the time that they enter the locker room to the time after the game when they depart. I'm also in charge of distributing gear to the players, and so making sure that they have the correct gloves and shoulder pads and everything, from head to toe, helmets to cleats that they need in order to execute on the field. And so it's really given me a really neat glimpse into the really great extent that equipment can impact the game. And so and to be able to be a part of that with such a great responsibility and a really cool role has really been a defining experience for me in college, and something that I've really enjoyed. So yeah, it's been a really great time. I've been really lucky to be around for some really cool seasons. Being able to stay here for the duration of last season and travel with the team to the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the national championship during the first year of the 12-team playoff was something very memorable. And then, yeah, we're still looking for a playoff spot this year. But yeah, it's been a really, really great time.
That's awesome. That's sounds like I said, coveted role for all of those reasons you just mentioned. Um, when I was asking you to come on the show, you mentioned to me that you are aware of Notre Dame's stance on NIL. Um, is it as conservative as the people as outside sources would expect, or is Notre Dame ready to write some big checks?
I would say I don't really know the specifics of it, but I really take the stance of Notre Dame's stance on NIL from an editorial that our past president and university president and athletic director wrote in the New York Times about a year or two ago, where so much was shifting with conference realignment, which is another really great issue in college sports, and NIL rules. And this was actually before the House settlement. So when all the rules really changed from going from commercial enterprises and outside organizations being able to directly pay players to now schools being able to directly pay players through clearinghouses and whatnot. But I do believe that Notre Dame is very much tied to its idea of being a traditional player and an advocate for the way things should be in our eyes as a Catholic school, and trying to advocate for equity and just allocation of funds and whatnot for players, so that they can be truly compensated in the way that many other professionals and aspiring professionals are within their respective fields. A really interesting comparison that they drew in that editorial was, thinking of it through the lens of, say an artist, making like a piece of art or like music or something like that, and how they're compensated, and how college athletes, should be treated more so towards the product that they're producing, but also respecting the idea that their main role in being student athletes is as a student of that respective university. And so I think it's a very unique stance, and I'm really happy that they've that our administration here has tried to take a very vocal and leading role in trying to make and shape NIL for the better, so that all the different stakeholders within college sports, from the fans to the student athletes themselves and the schools who provide all these opportunities, can all stand to benefit from it.
So NIL is naturally intertwined with the transfer portal. Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, I know, are no Dabo Sweeney when it comes to the portal. They're not scared of it. Since obviously you're at every practice, can kind of get a taste of locker room dynamic. Is it hard for the coaching staff to build unity and trust within a team with basically a fresh set of faces every year?
It's really interesting to see all the new faces and but in the locker room each year. But development has been like a really key aspect of specifically within Notre Dame over the past historically, but also with like the current coaching staff, I believe, and across the board, really across sports. Keeping players here and having the opportunity to develop them over the course of their careers, as student athletes, has been a really top priority within Notre Dame's ethos of its college athletic programs. And so, we haven't really seen Notre Dame really, go out and make a really big effort to, go for really big stars, on the market and whatnot. We have in the past, though, like you said, yeah, we haven't been afraid to go for quarterbacks, and especially really big team figures and leaders, from other schools, and bringing them here so that they can have their opportunities. They can maximize their opportunities to perform at the highest level. It's interesting how Notre Dame's goals have evolved, but the core priority within transfer portal is within the age of the transfer portal, especially with Notre Dame, is still player development, for sure. So
No, you made some good points. I've talked on the show before, actually. I think in our live show, it's kind of it is kind of ruining, I think, the hometown kid. The guy that grew up in Iowa, goes to Iowa, plays at Iowa for 4 years. You know what I mean? I think it's becoming making college football more like pro sports, and where sometimes like it looks like these kids are getting traded. But
yeah, I certainly agree with that, and especially how the rules have changed with, you know, um, back in the day, having to sit out a year or like a certain period of time after you transferred, and you could only transfer to one place, if you ever did so at all. And now, yeah, you see, quarterbacks and other players, in different schools who have been to their, third or fourth different school within their career as college players, and yeah, that's definitely, I think, a place where college sports, has been trying to avoid. And the NCAA in particular has been trying to avoid. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that's changed and how different schools have adapted to it differently, and especially having a front row seat, as somebody who works for a college athletics team, to see how that's different, how that's shaped the team dynamic for sure. But I think Notre Dame still has a certain approach with that, where they do, put a lot of priority on. It used to be until recently when they changed the rule with the roster limits, which effectively kind of got rid of them to a certain extent with walk-ons. Notre Dame used to be so huge with walk-ons, and it would be a lot of local players, a lot of regional players, who would be recruited by Notre Dame, and who would walk onto the team. But yeah, especially seeing there are still certain examples across Notre Dame where they've still kind of stuck to the idea of recruiting local and keeping and developing players over time. And my favorite example of that is from our men's basketball team with Marcus Burton, who will be coming back for I believe his third year. Who is a local product at Penn High School and got Indiana Mr. Basketball, I believe, within his graduating class. And so, it's really interesting how much it's varied across different sports and across programs themselves, for sure.
Ryan, that was great. Gave us some valuable insight. Loved hearing your points. Thanks again for joining me on Sportscaster's Open Mic. I'm going to end on theme here. The people want to know, did you put your hands on the jeweled shillelagh last Saturday?
Oh gosh, of course I did.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
That was a huge win for the team and for the program, and especially for all the fans out there. In the season, especially. But yeah, I got a really cool picture of myself holding the trophy, and it's a really cool rivalry to be part of. Hopefully, it goes on for much longer than people are saying. Yeah.
No, that was definitely a fun game to watch, and that's awesome. That's something Notre Dame fans of all would dream of. Just get their hands on the old shillelagh.
Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, so much for coming. That was sportscaster.com's Open Mic. I'm Brendan Mato. Thanks for tuning in.
I do want to mention that Ryan's opinions are not reflective of the University of Notre Dame. Those are his thoughts. And you heard the guys talking about the jeweled shillelagh. That's a trophy awarded to the winner of the Notre Dame USC game, which was played there in mid-October. A foot-long oak shillelagh from Ireland with the words, "From the Emerald Isle," engraved on the end. This year, of course, the emerald-studded shamrock embedded into the trophy, signifying a Notre Dame victory. Notre Dame travels to Boston College on Saturday. For you Big Ten fans, Michigan hosts Purdue on Saturday night. Michigan State travels to Minnesota for a late afternoon kick in Minneapolis. When we return, we're going to shift into a topic that is important on all levels of football, talking about head injuries, a byproduct of the game. A couple of our younger sportscasters will be on to discuss that. You're listening to Open Mic here on WJR.